Can he see us?
Yep.
Oh, we can, oh. I thought we could just see him.
So are we recording?
Nope,
Okay.
that's not my
You don't need
purview.
to record there, they're gonna be recording in the room. So
Record-
your sound quality will be a lot better on the video.
Okay, so Lori, is that something that somebody is doing remotely, or is somebody coming in to switch it on?
You should be able to see he's there already, so those cameras should be moving with you, behind you in that room.
They
He's
are.
already
They
there.
are, okay.
I talked to Brittany,
Good.
so.
Okay, excellent,
So
All
as
right.
soon as you guys start the meeting, you're gonna be good.
excellent,
Okay.
thank you, Lori.
I didn't know they moved with
Alright, have a good night, guys.
Sure
If you need
will.
me, just
Big brother.
text me.
Yeah.
Alright, can I have your number, please?
Yep,
Unless,
978.
wait, if we're recording, then that's gonna go over the air. Do you wanna,
You're not recording yet.
oh, okay,
They
go ahead
can
then.
cut it.
Alright,
Yep, 978.
Yep.
204
yep,
39.
204, last four digits,
839.
8-something-39,
81.
8139, 978,
Yep.
204, 8139.
Yep,
Thank you.
perfect.
Okay,
Alright, bye.
Bye.
thanks, Laurie.
You're welcome, bye.
Okay. As of now, we should be recording. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the February 17th, 2022 meeting of the Hubbardston Vietnam Veterans Memorial Committee. All members are present with the exception of Sarah Wyman, who would have checked in remotely from South Carolina, where she's now living. And we also have our advisor, Ed Blanchard, on Zoom from Florida, and he'll be adding to the dialogue for the meeting. So we have a lot to cover. Much has happened since the last time we got together. And for the sake of open meeting, there'll be a number of handouts that I'll give out, and I'll spend a minute or two going over them so the people that are listening in now or will listen in after will have an idea of what we're talking about. Very first item on the agenda, which is the review and approval of the minutes from November 10th meeting. I'm gonna ask that we defer that for the time being. Frankly, I was unable to put them together because in order to do it right, I would have had to look at the video from that meeting, which was another hour and 25 minutes that I did not have the opportunity to dedicate. So, with your okay, I'm gonna defer that to the next meeting, which will be sometime in the middle of March, okay? All right, so the next item, and actually is gonna be a combination of things here, which are the updates on the status of our multiple projects that we're working on, including our Vietnam Memorial, the Civil War Memorial, the cannons, the cannonballs, and other war memorials. I'm gonna be passing out a series of, and that'll be combined with the update on our finances, which is an item on the agenda, and also the logistics associated with that. So it's kind of three things that we are going to be putting together that I'll have handouts for. So I'm gonna keep one for myself, and I'll pass this away. And pass those there. Please pass one down to Laura. Okay. And this will sort of be a combination of, okay, you got enough?
Yep.
Yeah. Everyone for Steve, okay. Some of the scenario this evening is gonna be a combination of hindsight is 2020. But the great news
might be Dr.
is that
Dre.
our monument is now in storage in Boxborough, Massachusetts, safe and sound. That is a result of a minimum of 50 emails between the factory, the shipper, the import agent, the shipper on this side of the ocean, and numerous opportunities where on a nightly basis we were trying to update the location and the status of the monument. I almost think that some of that occurred on purpose because one of the things that we incurred was a warehouse storage fee of $2,044 because instead of the shipper in California, who was import guy, letting us know that the monument had arrived in Chelsea, Mass, he didn't let us know. And Ed, on a nightly basis, was asking him for the whereabouts, and finally, we did find out, and instead of it being delivered from the port directly to Astro Crane, who we had hired to do the movement, it got shipped to a warehouse in Chelsea, and it sat there for 7 days. So, as a result, that cost us $2,000. We are working on that. We're in touch with the factory and asking them for some type of, at least an explanation, and potentially a reimbursement, probably not gonna happen, for that, and also the damage that we're gonna be talking about and the steps we're gonna take to try to get that fixed. But in retrospect, as a committee, we decided that we would go with the bidder that we went with, because it was a very attractive bid, number one, and number two, they were prepared to deliver it in a very timely fashion, versus the others who needed 8 to 10 months and couldn't give us a date. So in order to provide you with perspective, here is, and I've already sent you a copy of this, and this is a hard copy if you look at. This is the monument actual cost versus other bids. So the first 8 entries on the left-hand side were the bids that we sent out and the responses that we got or didn't get. So as you can see, that the closest bid to the one we accepted, which was that primal number of $21,900, was from T-Stone Granite USA, and that was $42,289, and I know that that was one that was 8 to 10 months. The others were $51,000 and $64,000. So we made the conscious decision back then to go with a bidder that was much lower. I believe, in hindsight, that the other bids would have included many of the hidden costs that we didn't know about until after, such as the import fee. They would have known that, okay? And that would have been the $7,174 we paid for the customs duty, and, you know, possibly something to do with the storage. So, you know, when you look it over and you examine what it cost us thus far, because there are still the repair costs, we still have a savings of, bottom line, on this first handout, of $11,071. So, I'm certainly open for discussion, for that, your feedback, but, you know, I thought if we put it in black and white and we talked about it, that you guys would have a better idea of, what transpired and where we are now, so.
Let's see what, we'll have to talk about.
We knew,
Black and white, it
Yeah.
sounds good to me.
we knew that those things were
You have to
gonna be.
speak a little loud so I can hear if you can.
Get a little closer. Boy, nothing pushy, huh?
If we all move down closer to him, then you won't have to shout as much.
Ed, can you hear me?
We have to
Okay.
move closer
I
down.
can hear you, Bill.
Okay,
Okay, so
so if you wanna
project.
move down, wanna do that, or you wanna talk up, speak
Well, I
up?
can talk up.
Okay, speak up.
We don't wanna move down, okay.
I was just commenting that, in our conversations, most all of those, things that we didn't have a dollar for, we knew existed. We just didn't know what the cost was going to be. So, while, you know, I think some of that cost, was, I think that they just absolutely did a couple of things on purpose to get more money. But, you know, when you're not there and when you can't get there, because, you know, they're not gonna let you walk in and,
Thank
They're
you.
not gonna-
Give one to Laura.
they're not gonna let you just walk in and take a look at everything they're doing. And the fact is that, everything we're doing in this world today has just, gone out of sight in cost. I'm not sure that I think that this is out of reason. Thanks.
And we were fortunate that the monument got delivered to North Bergen versus out in California, because it may still be out in the ocean. And you know, it's sort of like we're the rookies in this, just like we were when we kind of stepped on a while back. So it's been a learning curve, and that learning curve has not been without its obstacles, but we have managed to overcome them. For Tom and Dolores, who actually went down on site, you know, we know that it's here, and I think that we still have work to do. We have decisions to make, but thank goodness it landed at this point versus landing in April or May, where and we'll talk about the damage in a lot more detail, but I am now convinced, having talked with Marty Wright from Astro Crane, who moves stuff all over the country with the biggest machinery that I've ever seen in my life, how it happened and why it happened. And there's two reasons why that transpired. Number one was the crate was not sufficient. It was not built properly, and it should have been. That's the fault of the factory. But they were very clear on that crate at the end, which I sent you pictures of. It said "fork here." Gotta be careful how I say that. And literally, this is an 8,500 pound monument. And if it had been forked at the end, where it said "fork here," and they had the right fork lift, which requires forks that are long enough to engage the crate as it was, so that it wouldn't tip this way, they had to have long enough forks to do that. But because it got moved like 8 times, and I could go into detail about that, whoever moved it didn't do it that way. They didn't fork it from the end. They came around to the side because it was easier, and they stuck those forks in, and what happened when they moved it, the monument came forward, and that's where the damage transpired. So it was certainly out of our control, number one, and the bottom line is, who are you gonna blame? You know, because you had so many entities that were handling it, so.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this, that we do have insurance. We're not sure of all the T's and the I's of it, but I can tell you we've been in touch with the factory, and they are looking into, quote, what we might have for recourse. And, not sure what that is. You know, if we were lawyers, we might have asked for a copy of the insurance plan, et cetera, et cetera. But we're all lay people and all volunteers, and we're doing the best we can. So, with that in mind, we'll talk more about steps we can take to correct the situation. But, any more discussion on that?
The fact that it wasn't crated at the factory and they just had some stays and some plastic, to me, that's the beginning of the whole thing.
That is correct, yeah. I mean, and we didn't specify enclosed crate, fully enclosed. So, once again, you know, at the factory, my sense is that they moved it fine. They moved it out to the truck took it to the dock, but after that, you know, they just assumed if they said "fork here," that someone would follow those directions. It didn't happen.
Regardless of blame, you're telling us that the insurance is, that Hobostone took out an insurance policy on it?
That's correct.
Alright, so we are waiting to hear from Hobostone what their insurance will cover, and any idea of how soon we could expect to see any payment for that?
And any more feedback on that from the factory?
Yeah, I think that listening to what has been said, yes, yes, the monument, if it had been handled properly during shipping, we'd be more than happy with the results, and it would be high quality, exactly like we wanted it to be. Due to shipping mishandling and that, we have damage, but I think we can't look back. We only have to look forward to saying, okay, we're going to put a plan in place to repair the damage. I'm in constant communication with Haberstone, and they have insurance. We have insurance, and I have submitted to them a copy of the invoice for
Estimate.
restoration of stone back to high quality. They will respond to that. The other issue with the Ava stone was I felt we got overcharged by about $2,000 because there was no real reason that we needed to store the monument. We were ready to accept it. There was no reason to stay 7 days in Chelsea, Mass, when we had Astro Crane 60 kilometers away. They are looking into that for me, but Haberstone has not had an answer yet from Rick Pacific, who was the clearinghouse in California. I will stay on top of that both ways. One for the insurance and one for the charge of the excess storage.
I think our more immediate concerns are how much will the restoration cost and do we have enough money to pay for it?
Okay, I'll cover that.
Okay.
All right, let's go next to the handout I just gave you, which is the Vietnam Memorial Committee budget projection as of the 15th of February. Everybody have a copy in front of them? And I did send you that copy, so you have copies in your email. I'm sorry if I overwhelm you with emails, but I don't know how to consolidate them.
I have a delete button.
And don't you dare, yeah.
No, I saved them.
Okay, so, beginning at the top, we had raised $46,250. And then a line by line, deduction as our budget, got spent. So as you look down that piece of paper, you can see, the costs that we have incurred and will incur. And, most of these haven't been paid, other than the one that we'll talk about, which is the $21,100 to Land Pro. Most of those are pretty accurate in terms of what we're anticipating. The one we're not familiar with, not to rush ahead, would be the Cannonball custom duty. The other item on the agenda is logistics. As far as logistics, we've been following that on a daily basis. We are anticipating that it will be delivered, these are the cannonballs, 45 cannonballs. They will be delivered to Hub Machine on the 21st. So those are in country, but we're not sure what the customs duty may be for that. We have entered $750 as an estimate of what we might get charged. Now, I can tell you from being in business and getting shipments in from Europe that sometimes they skate, and sometimes they don't charge you anything. So it's in country. With the monument, we had to pay up front. We had to pay the duty up front before they released it. This got released and been shipped. UPS ground coming to Hub Machine. So we may have, we may have gotten one by the goalie, so to speak. So that might be another $750 that we don't have to pay. So skating down to the bottom of that, if the math is correct, then we would have $2,132 still in the kitty. And if we don't get charged the customs fee, that would be another $750. But it's getting close. We've included the $1,500 that we offered, for the Memorial Day band. And we have not included, any additional costs of the monument, such as the $150 to have the engraving person come out, and the $650 per letter, and there will be costs associated with that. So, in response to, do we have enough money? It's close, and we can, get to that issue, should it become black and white. And I know that from a personal standpoint, talking with Ed, our advisor, once again, hindsight is 20/20. If we'd gotten that $15,000, we would be in fat cat. But we all agreed that we thought we were in really good shape when we deferred on that that bid that we put in for the grant. So once again, open to any and all comments, and I do not anticipate that we have any major expenses other than the cost of the restoration, which we'll talk about and consider moving forward with. But it's close, and I believe that we're gonna have a shortfall. I don't believe it'll be a lot of money, and I believe that we'll have the means to get that money if we need it.
I didn't know bands charged.
Oh, yeah, they, to find one, I sent out 9 inquiries. The
Yep.
closest band, other than the one that's in Rutland,
Yep.
that we hired for $1,500,
Yep.
was New York and Florida. I'm serious.
Wow.
And they wanted you to pay transportation and so on, and I was like, bands through America, you mentioned bugles. They, I used Clearinghouse and got all kinds of bids, and this is part of the Memorial Day.
And that's a high school band? Or
It's a professional band,
Oh,
yeah.
professional.
And they don't, if we had Quabbin, cause they do the different towns every
Right.
year, but we weren't in the queue for this year, were we?
Did you, is the town manager aware of we might have a shortfall in this?
No, not
Every
yet.
5 years,
Is there
you
any,
get them and the marching and the ROTC students and everything.
Ah.
So we do have,
Wow.
Bill,
yes, sir,
Bill,
yep,
regarding finances, I feel confident that we're still in pretty good shape, even with the cost of restoration and the timing of the expenses. Most insurance claims take a while, so that if we recover the cost of the restoration of what we need to do to the monument, that might come in a little bit later. But I certainly would think that we would get that in time to make the donation to the Memorial Day parade. So I think from a timing standpoint, I think we'll be okay on finances, and don't need to do anything further regarding that.
and Bill brought up, does the town administrator know that we might have a shortfall? And the answer to that is no. That's because we don't have it yet. And as soon as that becomes evident, I would bring it to his attention.
well, I meant that maybe he might have a suggestion, there might be some type of funds that we could access
Yep.
just for the shortfall.
I think we have options.
Yeah, just, that's all.
I'm uncomfortable with the idea of thinking that things are going to be okay and hoping that they'll be okay, because that's the kind of planning that got us, partly the kind of planning that got us in this mess to begin with. I would feel much more confident about that assertion if we knew, or once we find out what the restoration costs will be.
You'll know that in 5 minutes.
All right, in 5 minutes from now, it could be a very different opinion.
And no, actually, you will be, we will be in the red, unless certain things happen. So having now in front of you, you have another invoice, which is a upcoming invoice. There's 2 invoices I'm gonna talk about tonight. This is an upcoming invoice. This is being submitted by Ed Blanchard, and these are the costs that were outlined on the other piece of paper pertaining to monies that have been spent, because we know that we can't put the cart before the horse, and that was in order to get things done, the action had to take place before we could submit an invoice. So, our advisor, had stepped up to the plate on a number of occasions, and this is a, potential invoice which will be followed up with hard copies that will explain each of the, charges. So I wanna make you aware of that, and, Ed is going to be sending me hard copies that will back up each of these costs. If you look at them, you know, some of them are the obvious ones, others are, how much, Go Green helped us when we dug the holes and did the foundations, and the highway staff. So we, brought them lots of pizza to pay them for their hard work, and, believe me, it's gonna pay dividends in the future. So, look at that. I welcome any questions you might have, and we are not voting on that at this moment. But that will be an invoice that, will be forthcoming, and once we have that, the very next meeting, which will be sometime in the middle of March, we will, vote on that and have the paperwork, and then I'll submit it to, just like I did with another invoice I'm gonna tell you about in a minute. I submitted it to Kelly, who is the accountant, to make sure we had the Ts and the Is and all that. She said, fine, and, so I'll do the same thing, cause I don't want anything to bounce back on us, I want it to all
Right.
flow smoothly. So we have a total reimbursement of, $13,667.02, and that is for monies already spent, for not only the, monument itself, but the work we did on the common, et cetera. So, comments?
Bill, the detail of that, will go out to you tomorrow, so by Monday or Tuesday, you should have all of the backup invoices that I have for the cost of the cannonballs, the Eagle, and, an invoice for the customs duty and handling, and the storage and that, all of the detailed invoices, you will have probably Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, all right, and, Ed, I hope you're gonna be okay with what I said about deferring that payment until the middle of March, because that will be when we can hold the next meeting. I'll be back from my trips, and, we can convene and do it in an organized fashion.
Well, as long as I get to visit you in Aruba, that'll be fine.
You can swim that far from the Keys. You are welcome to, you know, yep, I got plenty of copies.
Did Ed ever get his money back?
Not yet, this is what we're gonna be talking about in a minute, and thanks for asking. So that would be part of the money that Ed spent, that he'll be getting back, that is the, $13,000 itemized,
Okay.
So, now, the next handout that I gave you deals with the items on the agenda, and that's the update on the status. So, it is what it is. You have in front of you the, copy of the damage to the monument. Dolores and Tom came with me that day, we were able to examine it partially, because it was still encased in the, crate and, covered up, and, literally, we were not able to examine the whole monument, we were not able to examine the whole foundation. And that's a bit of a liability, because we don't know if there's gonna be more damage. So, we're hoping there isn't, because we literally examined the covering that they had. There were no other breaks in the covering. We examined, that would be the monument. We examined the foundation in the same way. That was in a better crate. That crate had not been damaged. It didn't look like it had any impact whatsoever. We made a visual, inspection of that, and we made a preliminary determination that, we were optimistic that it is okay. But we need to be sure. So in conjunction with, the last handout I gave you, I will tell you that with a great deal of cooperation from Astro Crane. I mean, these people
Yeah, they
couldn't be nicer.
Yeah.
I mean, you got that impression, from us being there. I was there yesterday, and the same thing. Marty, who's the owner, is a great guy, and, he has opened his doors to us, and he is willing to, when the time comes, if we decide to move ahead with the repairs per this estimate that we received, and I'm gonna need your help on this, that'll be sometime in the middle of March. This particular individual has two companies. This one's called Stone Restoration Pro. I reached out to 3 different companies, only one responded, and this was the person that responded. And he was willing to come out yesterday. Marty, he and I talked, when the time comes, when he's gonna do the repair, Marty has offered to bring the foundation and the base inside, has offered to uncrate it, has offered to set it up so he can work inside to perform the restoration work. At that point, you folks are welcome to come down with me. I intend, when I come back, I hope it'll be the week after I return, which will be the middle of March, we'll do a forensic examination of the rest of the monument and the base. And, cause it'll be right in front of us, but it was impossible to accomplish that yesterday, to take it all apart, to set the monument up. We wanna do that one and done. And then, with the cooperation of Go Green, which is the pallet place here in town, who now has possession of the Eagle, I don't wanna jump around here too much and lose ya. I spoke with them yesterday. I happen to have an inside track at Go Green. And they are willing to build another crate for us. And that crate will enable us to successfully and securely crate the base and the monument up again, and then it will be put outside at Astro Crane, because it doesn't need to be moved again. They have a great concrete base. Tom and Dolores and I walked out, that's where it was yesterday, and
they have a forklift that will actually go where it's supposed to go.
will fork it correctly.
Right. And, yeah.
And so literally, and then, with, our advisor suggesting that that crate have a top that has hinges on it, and then we can have the straps already installed, so when it gets moved, it'll be moved with as little impact as possible, put on one of Astro Crane's trucks and delivered on site where the monument will be in the common, in May. So that is the Astro Crane part of it, okay. The fellow from Stone Restoration Pro, talked to him 3 or 4 times on the phone. He was diligent, came out to Astro Crane yesterday. He got there a little before me. Marty brought him out, showed him the monument. He and I chatted. He said he believes that he can repair the monument. He believes that he can do so that only we will know where the repairs are. In other words, it's like that car that you have that has that little scratch, and only you know where the scratch is. And so I questioned him at length. I said to him, have you done this before? He said, nothing this big. I said, okay. And he said, is it gonna be outside? I said, that's a basic question. I said, oh yeah, it's gonna be outside for the next 150 years. He said, okay. I said, what have you done that's like this? And he said, nothing this big. He said, I've done tiles, I've done countertops, I've done floors, but I believe that I can do it. And in the estimate, he outlined what he would do. Ed and I have talked about this. Ed has some questions, and I hope you all know that you know, we're doing our best to communicate everything to you, but if we were to communicate all the little details, you'd be angry with me, with as much as we've gone into with this, micromanaging of this project. So take a look at what he says he can do. And that would be to prepare the damaged areas by exposing fresh material. I gave him a chunk of granite. We had the sample, remember we got that sample from them, but, Mr. Blanchard didn't want me to use, that sample. He had another block, so I went to Ed's house yesterday, and, he had it hidden in the grill, so I picked up the block of granite, brought it, we took it over to the stone. It is virtually identical to the black marble on, black granite on the stone. It's not marble, it's granite. I didn't know that, I thought it was marble. And, so what they would do would be to pulverize a section of that and then mix it up. They know how to do it. Believe me, I've talked to one person who this guy did work for. I asked him for references. He gave me, and this is only yesterday, he gave me 2 names. I reached out to both those people, left a message with one, talked at length to another person that, I mean, this isn't his brother Ed, let's put it that way, okay, there's 2 independent people. The guy I spoke to today has had this guy do 5 or 6 projects, but all residential, nothing commercial. And it was, tiles in his bathroom, tiles in his one other room, a shower, a bathtub, all small, but he said, did a great job. He said he couldn't see where the repair was, and so, he felt confident. I felt 90% confident, okay? So I asked him, how will this set up under the sun? It's gonna be exposed. And he said, I don't believe that there's any reason that, the outside weather will affect it. Sun, heat, cold, based on how he goes about doing it. I asked him, based on, I don't know chemicals, so why is he using urethane versus epoxy? And he said that, urethane tends not to discolor when it's exposed to the sunlight. So in other words, it wouldn't show like lines or stuff of that nature. And I asked him to, expand on that a little bit, cause I'm a dummy, I don't know anything about that, so, but that was only today at 2 o'clock, so. Second person reference, left a message with them. I believe that's another residential, no, that one was, a construction company, and the person has not gotten back to me yet. I asked him about a guarantee, and he said he was gonna check with the person who supplied the adhesive, how they would back it up, but I don't have an answer on that yet. So, with that in mind, and he said he gets $1,600 a day. He thought that it would, take possibly 2 days to do it. I said to him, okay, we're a volunteer committee, we had donations and we have expended the majority of our money. And he said, okay, I will discount it 25%. Instead of $1,600, it'll be $1,200 a day. I will also do my best to do it in 1 day, not 2. And that'll be, remains to be seen. I'll be very honest and frank with you. When I said to him, did you see all 8 damages? He said, oh, I only saw 5.
Can I ask a question?
Yep, sure.
Speak up, please.
If, we're saying the granite repair is 2,400 without seeing anything but the edges at this point, how do we know that that's gonna be enough for the granite repair?
You're absolutely correct. And what he has offered to do is, when I get out there and they set it up for me, we'll do that determination. And if there's anything else that needs to be done, we'll address it at that point.
I see.
And I'm a pretty good negotiator, so I'd say to him, you know, can you help us out here? Cause we're in a financial, we're in a financial position that we could use your help. So, there is a lot of TBDs, to be determined, and I cannot think, unless you guys have a suggestion, of any way to advance that examination or that date by getting it out, being able to see it all when it's set up. Marty literally showed me in the factory where now he said, I'm glad you don't want it this week and next week, cause he had a truck he was working on, but showed me where they put it, and it'll be nice and warm in there, so the guy will be able to work. So, the bottom line is, it appears it would be a $2,400 repair, and it could be less than that, cause he said that he would do his best, and the possibility to complete in one day. So that is, what I have to present to you as committee, and, I'm more than willing to, listen to any feedback that you have.
Concerns. I looked at his website, is New England Stone and Concrete Solutions?
That's the
is that-
second,
Okay.
Company, yes.
All of the work that's pictured in the portfolio and the work you describe are flat surfaces, tiles, countertops. The damage that we have to our monument is going to require some kind of a form because it's three-dimensional. He's not going to be able to just paint it on the side. It's going to have to be supported because it's three-dimensional chunks being taken out that have been removed from the material. The fact that he's willing to try doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence, and from what I know about urethane and the fact that it's not going to be a flat surface, I would very much doubt that it would be set in a day in enough time for him to grind it down and polish it the next day. So I would like to expand our search, and one thing we might try are museums where they might have to do restoration of statuary, that they might have a better idea of who we could call to get this kind of work done.
Okay.
How about these people that,
Let me,
are cleaning up this,
if I could
Wait a minute,
interject
Ed,
at this
hold on a
time,
minute.
you know,
Ed,
in the
hold
big
on a minute.
picture-
oh, let 'em
Yeah,
speak.
okay.
in
Hold on
the
a minute,
big
Steve.
picture, we're very fortunate that the damage done to the monument is surface damage and basically doesn't involve the names or the eagles. It is all on places that are chipped, but they were all black polished areas. Laura, I've worked a lot with epoxies and that, and they have fast drying epoxies that are 5 minutes or 20 minutes or that. So I feel confident that what they are giving us for a restoration is feasible to do. And yes, they will have to make a decent corner, but they will put on additional extra material, and then what they will do is they will grind that down to the surface area and then polish it so that it will be very consistent with what we have for the original monument.
Well, I would agree with you if they were using epoxy, but the estimate is for urethane.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
The estimate states that he would be using urethane as the binding agent and not epoxy.
Yes, I questioned that too, and Bill is checking that with him, whether epoxy or urethane is the best way to go. And I think they responded back that they had good success with a urethane mixed with the grindings of the granite, and that I wanted to make sure that those would hold up under sunlight, because the first thing I hear about urethane, I think of my deck, and you put urethane on your deck, and the next thing you know, it's discolored. But they have responded positively that yes, they have used it in the past, they've used it on exterior monuments, and that they feel comfortable with the materials that they're using, that they'll be able to do this, and it will stand up. Long term, who knows? I mean, it's a patch to be sure, but you know, would we have to do something 10 years, 15 years down the line? I don't think anybody can predict that, but I think the method that they have chosen to restore the monument is solid, is a solid method.
Steve,
Oh, I was just wondering about these companies, the company that are gonna clean the monuments, do they do any of that?
no.
Oh.
Yeah, in fact, we reached out to them and, they said, we don't even know anybody that does
Uh-huh.
the repair. There's other options. The other option is to literally cut 1.5 inches off the bottom of the monument and then grind that, polish that, and so on and so forth. That takes care of all the damage to the bottom. That's a massive undertaking and it would require that the monument be moved to Vermont, where there's a company that does that. And, you know, and also, we've had interaction with the factory, and they said if you wanna send it back, they would take care of the repair. But, you know, I just tell you that that's another option, but that's,
What would it cost to cut that,
we don't have an estimate, but it certainly would be more than,
than what
I believe, what the repair would
And
be.
if they make a
seems,
mistake.
right, yeah.
And that would only take care of the bottom. Now, let's be practical, and that is the damage to the bottom is gonna be butting with the base. So it's gonna butt, see, there's 5 damages to the bottom. It's gonna be butting with the base. And so that is gonna be less noticeable in the long run. But the 3 at the top are disappointing, to say the least. Those are the ones at the bottom. There's one that's bigger at 7 inches, the ones at the top, and Dolores was really good. I was doing the measuring and she was my photographer. And so you see where the 3 are that we could see. And I was pretty comfortable that we didn't miss any in the areas that we were looking at.
You say that it abuts it, but the damage is like along here.
Right along the very, very bottom, so,
Did you have any idea how much it's gonna show?
They send it back to China.
well, if we didn't fix it,
Make
it's
it
gonna show.
damage it
Oh,
again?
it's gonna show.
Yeah, it's gonna show.
Maybe
It'll come
put a
back
crate
worse.
on it this
If
time.
you
come
don't
back
do
worse.
anything,
Maybe
it,
this, yeah.
you know, below the polished,
If it was crated,
Part,
shrink
that's
wrap
great.
it, wouldn't
I
have
mean,
had
it'll
That's
show
all.
right up.
Okay, I just asked.
Yeah,
And we'll have
Just,
it
I don't know
see-
if they were in the front part where the polish is or underneath it.
yeah, if you look at the photos again that we took,
Yeah, I
you
saw
can
it.
see
Size
that,
of it.
some of it does extend, in the visual part, you know, some of it's underneath, some does extend in the visual part. Okay, so, so there's an estimate in front of us, and, that individual is prepared to go forward. And I would reach out to you as a committee, and, Laura's brought up a point, but I need volunteers. I need people that are willing to continue the research, continue to reach out to other potentials in a expeditious fashion, cause I'm not gonna be around till the middle of March. So I need somebody that's willing to take that upon themselves, at which point I will tell Tito from Stone Restorations Pro, that we're considering his estimate, thank him very much. And I think that, I didn't get the impression he was extremely busy. In talking with the individual that he did work for, he said, you know, he was, within a week, he was willing to come out. He's been in business 10 years. He has a partner and his son works for him. As far as I know, it's a 3-person operation, so they're small. And answering, Laura's concern, the damage that he repaired was a crack in tiles. So he was able to take, it was a flat surface, he was able to take and make that disappear. Another picture he showed me was another picture of a tile, and someone had drilled a hole in it in the wrong spot. And he was able to make that hole disappear, okay? The guy I spoke to today, he said one of the things he did for me was, I'm just extemporating here, but quoting what he said, there was grouts in the tiles that he had, and he said he did a wonderful job because the grouts were all moldy and stuff like that. So he ground those out, smoothed them out, replaced the grouting, and did a great job. I think he's a small-time businessman. This job is, I'm not sure over his head, but he's never done it before. So that's why I said I'm 90% confident. And I will defer to whatever you say. But if we decide not to go with him at the present time, then I would like to have action, activity, response, and other options by the middle of March so that we can convene again and make a decision. Because we don't have, thank goodness we have the buffer, but one of the folks, what's happened to the video?
Yeah,
I think we lost Ed.
he signed out and didn't tell you.
I hope I didn't.
I think
Make 'em
Laura's
mad.
the most capable one of finding other companies.
Well, let me deal with this problem first.
Yeah, sure. And they did say that the hybrid version that we're using, they have a little more trouble with it. And so it's a bit of a challenge. So this may be what we're encountering here, so.
The hybrid what?
A hybrid is a combination of a Zoom and a live meeting.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the one.
I know. And like I said to you, in one of my emails, when I looked at the eagle was beautiful. When I lifted the cover and I saw Marcus Hackler's name, you remember Butch Hackler, did you know him? Butch from town, yeah. He was a swift boat sailor in 2 tours in Vietnam. And you remember Butch?
Yeah.
Wonderful guy, yeah,
Echo's brother.
yeah, and his brother.
Which-
And
Rusty and Gary's?
Bill, you said you
Yeah.
reached out to everybody and only
No,
one
he couldn't have been
returned the
there.
phone
Correct.
call?
Mhm.
Cause Gary and Russ,
We don't even know who you
They were
reached
the
out to,
older
we
ones.
did give a.
Sorry, Ed, we lost your
look at
visual
the
for a
email.
moment,
I
but
listed
we're
the
back
other two
again.
companies.
It's gonna be a
Is that
different
that
family.
company?
I
Yeah.
was
We're
just
back
thinking
again.
of Laura.
Oakland.
Is it Hope?
It's Hokla, H-O-L-K.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I found a company in Worcester, Woburn, Skylight Studios, that does fine art restorations of marble. So if you can give me if you've taken videos or all the photographs that you've had,
You have
You
them.
have them on, yes.
I sent them to you.
Email.
so that was all of them, that was like 5 pictures?
No, there's about 15 pictures, but 8 of them represented the damage.
Okay.
Mhm.
Any
I'm
video?
also working with Leominster Monument,
And the answer is no, no
to
video.
see what they might come up with for a plan for, for repair of the monument. So as soon as I get any information back from them, I'd be willing to share it with the committee as soon as I could.
So let's, you'll reach out to them, Laura?
Yes,
Okay.
but I will not be able to commit to any daytime, visits or
That's fine.
coordination, because I got a real job. But I'd be happy to see if they can do it, and to find out if there are other Massachusetts-based companies that do similar work.
And they could, on their own, go out to Astro Crane. And, cause as long as they made contact with, Marty at Astro Crane, they would be more than happy to let them go out and look at it.
Places that sell gravestones must have this problem.
I'm comfortable with the game plan that has been put in place, as a good method of repair. However, if we come up with some other possibilities, we could certainly show those. But I think the one that Bill is exploring seems to have good merit.
So, as a committee, shall we defer and wait for and once again, anybody else wants to pick up the gauntlet and try to reach out and find other companies?
I'm
I wrote to
perfectly
3,
willing- I'm perfectly willing to work with her.
Okay.
And while you're gone.
and literally that could be a trip back to Astro Crane.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to, with a person that might come out and look at it.
Yeah.
And, Dolores, you made a very good point. The other 2 companies that I reached out to do gravestones and monuments,
Yeah.
and let's face it, they get damaged,
Must-
and they haven't responded to me, but a little more research on the internet, we might find others. One was in Worcester, and I think the other was in, Bridgewater or
Hey,
something.
Bill,
Cause I started with Massachusetts
because
companies.
next meeting will be a couple of weeks out because you're going to be away. If you could tell that repair company that, the committee's gonna make a decision within a couple of weeks. You know, if somebody comes up with a better mousetrap, well, that's great. But if not, then we'd be prepared to move forward by the time you return.
Yeah, we'll make a decision as a committee, with our next meeting,
Right.
on what other options we have. I mean, the other options are very drastic, you know, and, you know, that would be returning it to the factory that's not feasible, literally shipping it up to Vermont and having the bottom cut off, but then how do we get the top repaired?
And
You know.
you gotta pay all that money again.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
so,
I wouldn't wanna ship it back to China.
no, absolutely
It
not.
could come back to it
Yeah.
worse than what we're sending it over there.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, cause once
You
again,
can
you
put
don't
a
know who's
stamp
gonna
on it.
handle it.
Huh?
You can't put a stamp on it.
It'll be one big stamp.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll, I think that's a good idea. We'll do due diligence on that and, literally, have a decision we'll make. It still gives us time. My impression from, Tito, from, the, restoration company is that, he would still be able to react within a reasonable amount of time. Astro Crane is really good about, being accommodating, so we've now covered, the finances, we've covered, there's one invoice that needs to get paid, and that is for the monument itself. And, I believe I sent you a copy of the invoice. If I didn't, it's here. Did I make copies, extra copies? I don't think so. No, okay, cause I wanted I wanted to keep it in my hot little hands. So here is the invoice from Land Pro for the monument itself and the costs associated with that, which is $21,100. The invoice, the description says Hubbardston, Vietnam Memorial Monument, one monument base as per specifications, that's the second thing. Inspected at Astro Crane by Bill Shea, Tom Collier, and Dolores Ordway on the 11th of February 2022. That's an invoice for $21,000, $21,100. I sent the invoice to Kelly, that's our accountant, to make sure that it was perfect. She said, absolutely perfect. All you need is a town warrant cover sheet. I had no idea what that was, so I talked to Sandy today and she said, oh, I sent you that. And I said, oh, you mean today? She said, no, a couple weeks ago. And I said, oh, okay. Could you send me another copy? So she sent me another copy. I filled in the details, which simply say vendor's name, billing date, which is 16th of February, invoice number, and the amount. The one she sent me says fiscal year 2020, so I'm questioning that because it's not fiscal year 2020. And so I need to have 3 signatures on that, one of which is gonna be Bill Withercombe because he is the treasurer, and I've signed it and I need one more person to sign it, so you sign that, Bill?
Yes.
We all in favor of going forward with paying that invoice of $21,100? Yep.
Sure.
No.
Was the, monument paid for in installments, or has it entirely paid for?
Ed, how is the monument paid for? I know it was broken down into 2 payments.
The monument has been totally paid for, and this is the invoice from Land Pro, according to the bids that were put out by the town and accepted by the town.
That doesn't.
No, I was wondering if we had any leverage to withhold the second payment because of the damaged, monument.
I think the damage is an issue because, you know, certainly the monument got here and, you know, it was a responsibility to have insurance, and we know we have insurance. And it's gonna be my responsibility to follow through on the insurance and make sure that they make good for the amount that we have to spend on repair.
So Laura, you are right, if in fact we go forward with the estimate presented by Tito, we will, be in the red by a few dollars.
Yeah, well, I,
Like $2?
No, a few dollars, yeah.
I would most definitely be in favor and will help to find more bids with people who are more experienced. But that might also come at a cost, because these things cost money and getting it done correctly is going to be something that an expert needs to do.
And I totally concur, and I think if whatever the number is, I think it will, as a committee, we'll move forward and say, you know, maybe we have to, once again, reach out to the Friends of the Memorial Committee, and I think that the possibility of raising money is not out of the question.
No.
If there's a last minute cost concerned. Little odds and ends, like for example, the Memorial Day committee that we'll talk about in a minute. Claudia was able, Wells, Claudia, provincial, Claudia Wells is from Back to the Future, I'm sorry. Claudia,
Is that a
talked
movie or
about,
something?
yeah, I know, geez, to talk about mind moving in different directions. When we had one of our meetings, she said, wouldn't it be great to have caps to hand out, veterans caps to hand out to the veterans that day. And she said, when I'm in Florida, at the flea market, they sell them for like $2 a piece. And Tom and I are on that committee, and we said, buy them. You know, and Claudia got back to us and said that she was able to get all the different services, and some to say just veterans, and it was $18 a dozen. It's $1.50 a piece.
Wow.
Yeah. And then she said I had to pay $20 a dozen for some of them, and Tom and I and John Mason are gonna pick up the cost of that, because we said we'll have the scouts involved, and they can hand it out to the veterans that day, and just a little aside. But I said, well, you certainly did a good job, Claudia, number one. Number two, you probably made that vendor really happy, because I think she bought like 12 dozen of them, so it probably made that, the vendor said, oh my God, you know, I'll be getting him back in touch with China and getting more of them.
I
So,
like Bill's hat, that's
yeah,
Thank
yeah,
him.
yeah, his,
He's
Oh,
a-
did you get that?
functional.
Yeah, I bought it for him
Yeah.
in Arizona.
It fit me so well.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I saw it, and then, or my wife, Andrea saw it, she said, boy, this is really fits Bill, and I said, you get on the phone and get a hold of Nancy and tell her to have her, and so she said, perfect.
You know, so as a committee, do you feel that we have covered the updates on the status? We haven't actually, because we haven't talked about cannons, we haven't talked about the cannonballs, so so much to cover.
Bill?
Yes, Ed.
I can bring you up to date on some of the other
Thank you.
restoration
Fire
things
away.
regarding the cannonballs. The cannonballs are en route, and we'll have those probably around February 21st, and they'll go directly to hub equipment. The total 42 stainless steel balls that are 3 millimeters thick weigh 20 pounds.
Total of all of
I'm
them.
contemplating having Brian Hardy at hub equipment drill holes in them, and we fill them with quality sand, then and then fill over the holes with stainless steel, grind them off smooth, and then the total weight of the 20 ball monuments would be about 100 pounds. We would take those once they're welded together and bring those to the power coating plant in Clinton, and they would power coat them. I've checked them to make sure that if we put sand in them, they'll weather the powder coating, and we have confirmation from them that they could still do it. Their lead time is about 4 weeks. So if we get these balls, cannonballs, and get them in place maybe by the end of, maybe by the 15th March, and get them over to Clinton, we'd still have them powder coated and back in time, certainly, to be mounted by Leominster Monument. And they're going to mount those on new pieces of granite. Those pieces of granite have been ordered, and they are going to be in at the end of March, and those are $1,400, $700 a piece, and they will be drilled, and the cannonball pyramids will be then have um, um, have pins on the bottom of them, and those pins will be epoxied to the new granite monuments bases. And those bases are going to they're going to be rock edge cut, so they look like the cannonball bases. I think that's about all for the cannonballs.
Okay,
The
so let's stop there,
bases
stop there for a minute,
are
Ed, because,
the
rationale-
the cannons
Give me one of
themselves
these.
are
Ed,
still
hold on.
sorry.
hold on, thank you. So, you understand the rationale, what we wanna prevent is for that pyramid of cannonballs not to be too light, even though it's gonna be epoxy to the base, that someone is gonna would be easy for them. So it's gonna go from weighing what we think is less than a pound a piece to weighing 5 pounds a piece by filling them with sand. So it's a preventative measure for the long-term,
We don't want any cannonballs going down the
road
road.
down Main Street. Remember what, Kangas said, that's what happened back at one time, the kids broke them up and sent them down Main Street. So, Ed, when they're delivered to Hub Equipment, is he gonna put them all together? So when they go to Clinton, are they gonna be in the pyramid, or is it gonna be, send them to Clinton? They get-
The process would be he would receive the cannonball, probably drill about a 3/8 inch hole in them. We fill them with sand, then he would weld over the holes, and then grind out any rough surface. Then he would weld them into pyramids. 20 balls would make a pyramid, and then once they're in the pyramid, with a pin on the 3 points of the bottom, then they would be sent out for powder coating to Clinton.
Right, okay.
And I feel comfortable that we should fill them with sand and make them heavier.
But, if they're in the pyramid before they're powder coated, are they gonna be able to do 360 and all around and make them?
Yeah, what we're gonna do on the pins that hold them is we're gonna weld
Okay,
on a
I see.
bolt at the bottom so that they can hang them. And because they can hang them, they can then powder coat them on all sides, and
Are you comfortable with everything
we
we're
should
doing?
be in good shape there.
Okay, alright, as long as they can do the 360 and take care of those, that's
Yeah,
fine.
But doesn't
That's how
powder
they
coating involve, kiln drying?
You're my friends.
Yeah,
Kiln drying, no.
No, you
The
spray
powder
it,
coat-
you spray it with the powder and then you have to heat it in an oven, right?
Yep, it is heated in an oven, and then the powder is put on by electrostatic. They put a charge on the pyramid, and then they spray it with powder coating, and the powder coating bonds to the stainless steel.
Well, what I was driving at is that the sand would have to be perfectly dry, because if it had any moisture in it, that could cause problems when the sculpture is put into the oven to cure the powder coating.
Yeah, I've already talked to the guy about that, and a lot of times they'll power wash them ahead of time, but I said that these are gonna come in and they're gonna be very shiny. So what he's gonna do, instead of power washing them with water, that might put water, there was a void in them, he's gonna sandblast them instead, and then after sandblasting, then he'll put them in the oven and powder coat them.
Okay, going on to the cannons,
Say again?
go on to the cannons. The cannons themselves.
The cannons.
He wants to hear about the cannon now.
Oh, the cannon, yep.
Boom, boom, boom.
I put in a call to the guy who's painting the cannons, and the cannons are inside in his shop, and he's been very busy, so he's put those off because he knew from Leominster Monument that we didn't need those right away. But they're in safekeeping, and he's going to get to those, and I'll get back to you when he responds to me. I also talked with Bob Pearson at Leominster Monument to give him a buzz regarding picking those up as soon as they're done, and I think that's tracking well.
Great, okay. All right, comfortable up to this point? So we've covered,
And later on, as we get closer, I'll give you a coordination of, and the committee can review the time frame of all of these being installed and put in place, because I think we probably do maybe in early May we might be able to do the cannons and the cannonballs and mount the eagle, and the eagle came out beautiful. We're thankful for that. Might be able to get those done maybe the first week in May, and then maybe more a week before
saw the pictures of
Memorial
the
Day,
eagle.
then we would actually put the Vietnam Memorial in place. But if you have thoughts on that, share them with me. But I'll try and get you guys sort of a schedule of when these things might happen for your review and comment and change.
Thanks.
okay. Moving along, additions and changes to the name on our memorial. I'm receiving periodic emails from people, and we've identified one veteran who we missed. You know, we knew that was going to happen. I've had multiple conversations with his daughter. His name is William Wells. He was in the service from 1951 to 1962, U.S. Navy. He's buried right here in town. His daughter is located in the Panhandle in Florida, and he did not serve in country, so we will be adding that name to the memorial. One so far. We're probably going to have more. We all understood that. Okay. I also had an inquiry from the niece of William Hubbard. She wanted to be sure that her uncle was on the monument. He served 27 years in the service, 1951 and 1977. So of course I went to the list. He's there, and she said that he served in Korea and Texas and also in Vietnam. So I looked at the list. There was no Y for Vietnam, there was an N, so it didn't indicate that he was in country. So I asked her in more detail to verify that. She gave me a copy of the questionnaire, and in the questionnaire it clearly said that he was in Vietnam from 1969, 1970. So we will be putting a gold star in front of his name. Those are the two changes as of now. So
Bill, toward that end, I think it would be certainly appropriate to get them on for Memorial Day, and I would schedule with Bob Pierce when he's coming out to do some of the other mounting of the cannons, or if he was coming out, he's going to come out also to help us make sure that we get the monument in place correctly. And if he brings his equipment at that time, we wouldn't have paid $185 for his visit because he'd already be there, and we'd only have to pay the $3 per letter or star for any work that he did. So I think I can arrange that with him. He'd be comfortable with that.
good. Okay. At that point, I'm looking for a volunteer or volunteers. We want to back up our bet. We want to do our very best to make sure that we don't miss anybody. And all of a sudden, Claudia from the Senior Center came up with another list. And it goes back to 2012. She must have reached out to let me get the right one in front of me. She reached out to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Military Division Office of the Adjutant General, Military Records Branch, and they provided her with a list of, going back to the Revolutionary War and right up through the present day, 2012, a list of veterans. I took that list from her, I went over it, and there are 2 pages. I did not check them with our accurate listing that we had from back in September, but I'm looking for a volunteer to take this list. It's 2 pages, it's probably 50 names. These are all Hubbardston residents, all verified through DD 214s, all Vietnam. My sense and my hope is that every one of these names is already on our monument. But I would like a volunteer to use the list that we have, that you got the list of. If you didn't and the person who volunteers doesn't have it, I'll be sure to send you the list that the last one we worked on back in September. And I'd like somebody to use this list, verify it with the other list, and if we come up with a name that's not on the monument, I know for a fact that this list, like all the other ones we got, is not a compendium. It's not complete. It's not accurate. So, do I have a volunteer to do that?
The new list isn't complete?
The new list we have as of September is a list that we used
Right,
to put the names on the memorial.
Yeah.
Those names on the memorial are all accurate, we verified that. We're looking to cover our bets by making sure we didn't miss anybody. This list, I have no idea if this list corresponds with the entire list we have, but it's limited, it's only like 50 names.
I
But,
could do that.
Okay,
Do you
thank
know if
you.
that is available as an electronic form?
no, that was a hand-printed list that I got from Claudia at the senior center.
No, I mean, who did she get it from?
It's right on the cover sheet, yeah, but that's 2012. Okay?
Okay.
Well, it's one of, like, what we started with, we started with 3 lists that were 38 names. Steve's list was the first list we had, so it may be, I'll be very pleased that you'll report back to us and say, all the names are covered. If not, then we need to make an effort to try to find out where those people are. And, I'm hoping on, but you following what I'm saying? I hope I explained it properly.
You did, but it looks like I have duplicate, right? These are 2 exactly the same?
I'm hoping. Well, did I give you 2 copies?
Yes.
You know why? Cause I was looking potentially for 2 volunteers.
Ah.
So, but you volunteered, thank you very much.
I'll do it.
Okay, thanks. And just once again, as insurance, okay. While I'm on the subject of volunteers, we know, you leave, I'll volunteer you. Steve has to leave that club. While I'm on the subject of volunteers, here is the original questionnaires that Sarah gave to me before she left. This is our rote, this is the responses we got from our veterans. There are 2 reasons I want somebody a subcommittee to work on this list. The 2 reasons are, they don't have to be done immediately. Okay, it can be done, in fact, it may be more appropriate to do them in April or May. I wanna reach out to these people again, I wanna invite them to be there on Memorial Day. And so, there are phone numbers, there are emails, and I want, to get another opportunity, cause maybe they're not on Facebook. And we know this for a fact, that we asked them if they wanted their names to be published publicly, and they said no, and we agreed to that. It would be a little easier if we were able to put them all on Facebook. But, so the first is to invite them to be there on the 30th of May. I know many families have already contacted me, they're coming from out of state, they wanna be here, so that's a great thing. The second is the little project that we have to get photographs. We now have 12.
Great.
How are you getting those? Can they be emailed to you?
Absolutely, yeah, JPEGs, you know.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
you can send it to you, 'cause
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
have one and I didn't know what to do with it, if it had to be
Yeah,
a hard
so-
copy.
No, in fact, we don't want hard copies, we want
Oh,
just,
okay.
and I'm trying to get them, some of them are smaller, some of them are larger, and I'm trying to get them all kind of the same size. So, the second reason to reach out would be to say, gee, we're gonna have a collage, and we'd love to have a photo of you on that collage. Would you like to send it, and use the directions that are on the Facebook page, send them to me, I've compiled them. I'm gonna have my photographer at some point, do a uniform listing, and we're gonna get them printed out, and we'll, you know, I'll take care of that. But I'm looking for someone to use this list and not to lose it, to, reach out to our veterans and, see if they'd like, to make sure they're invited, number one, and ask them if they'd like to submit a photo.
What time are we telling them to be there?
Well, the parade is gonna assemble at 10:30. The parade is gonna kick off at 11. We are going to have, a float or two and other vehicles. Any veteran who wants to walk in the parade, they're welcome to walk in the parade. Any veteran who wants to ride in the parade, there's gonna be floats that they can ride on. So that's 11 o'clock. Tom, what's the average length of the parades when, are they,
Once we, once we go off, it's probably 20 minutes,
30 minutes?
20 minutes.
I'll bet ours is gonna
But-
be 30 and 35.
I was just getting ready to say,
I
but
know.
I think ours is probably gonna be longer than that.
And, so, and then, I would say, based on that the ceremonies would begin sometime around 11:45.
Yeah,
So, of course, not etched in stone. So, looking for a volunteer or two.
I don't have a computer.
Oh, but you don't need a computer.
Oh, shoot.
You don't need a computer. You need a phone.
You wanna do it?
I'm gonna go to Florida shortly.
So a phone, as long as you have an email, you can, cause some of them,
Okay, I'll do it.
okay, thank you. And then, and I think you're the perfect person to do it too.
You don't have to sugarcoat that.
Okay. But
You're
I-
selling
come on.
past the close.
And, and so I would say reaching out now to, invite them to send a photo would be perfect.
If they say they don't want nothing to do with it, I'm not gonna contact
No,
those
no,
people.
they said they didn't want it public, that would be published anyplace. This is different, this is a photo and a collage, and you'll tell them exactly what it is.
Yeah.
We're putting their collage of veterans, and you know that we said it can be back then, it can be now, it can be in uniform, it can be with your family, and I've gotten a variety, in fact, a lot of them have sent 2 or 3 pictures. And I've responded to every one of them, and I've said, for now, we'll probably be selecting 1 photo, depends on how many we get,
Right.
you know. So, and I'm thinking if we do an 8x8, and we could have 3 or 4 collages, you know, that's nothing, I've got tripods and stuff, we can put them on, the more the better, you know, so, alright, so,
There
now
you
you can
go.
leave, alright,
Thank you,
Thank
Steve.
you.
you have a mission, alright, thanks.
Good
Steve.
night, Steve.
See you guys, take
Good
care.
to see you, Steve.
Bye, Steve.
Take care, Ed.
Okay, so, that's a little bit about the Memorial Day. We've had meetings, we've made progress, it's, beginning to shape up. And literally, Tom and I are on the committee. Tom is gonna be the Grand Marshal for that day, he's gonna be the Master of Ceremonies. I think that, it's gonna be a special day. Our plan is to, have a cover on the memorial, on the monument itself, and to have as many veterans around that at the time that can uncover it at that point. It's shaping up, we have a band now, it's secured. I have a affirmative response from the Massachusetts National Guard. They're gonna have a honor guard there, and that's not easy to get, but I asked more than once, and they responded, I think I sent that out to you. We're gonna have an honor guard, and they get really busy around that time. I've reached out to Monty Tech, and, I got a positive response from him. He said, I can't do anything for you until April. I'm gonna wait till March, and I'm gonna email him again, just say,
Just remind him that
Yeah.
April, it's
Yeah.
right around the corner.
yes, right around the corner. So I'm gonna remind him that we really like to have representation from Monty Tech, cause Hubbardston is part of that district.
What sort of representation are you talking
A
about?
drill team,
Oh, okay.
and they have a drill team. And I'm also gonna reach out to Quabbin, cause I understand that they have a junior ROTC program.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna reach out to them and,
By and
invite
large,
them.
by and large, they go with the band.
Oh, yeah, okay, well, and
But
you know,
you don't know, you
That's
don't
correct.
know. They may say, gee, this is special and we'll,
I'd love to have 3 or 4 even, you know,
oh,
so.
yeah, yeah.
And Patty, who works for me, I think it's the gal that has a diner in town, she has a son that's involved or something, and I don't know all the details, I apologize, but that's in the back, that's on my, definitely on my bucket list of taking care of. And there are potentially, other surprises. We have, a general in the Massachusetts Air National Guard, I won't say any more, that we've been in touch with. Okay, so, I think this will be a special day for a special number of reasons, so.
Are you, in contact with the elementary school at all to get the children involved in
Not
any
at all.
patriotic activities?
No, I haven't even thought about that, love to have them there. What do they do normally with the elementary school, Tom, do you?
Well, for years, we had, you know, they'd had a contest.
Yeah, that
and-
part of it.
And they, at the end of the day, there was 3 of them had memorized,
In Flanders Field,
the-
Oh.
Gettysburg Address.
and the response to Flanders Field.
And that's being done, that Claudia is reaching out to,
Yeah, she's looking.
that part of it, yeah.
And other than that, you know, the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, they'll be there.
Fire,
Fire,
antique
yeah.
cars, you know. And we spend a lot of time on that end of it too, because, I see the 2 most important aspects of making it successful and making it organized is the beginning and the end. So, as part of the memorial committee, we're gonna designate an individual to be at the field. And, because we're gonna need to organize, and I know when I've shown up, kinda like, okay, just get in line, so to speak, and so with the cars, and, so we can, if we overflow, we can use Go Green's parking lot, if we overflow, we need to use the field, we can do that. So, and the other end is very important, that's to have, and Claudia said she would take care of that, is on the, common side. So when people are coming, you know, the groups that are coming, where do we put the drill, where do we put the color guard, you know, and so that's important, that we're gonna have a schematic and have that all figured out so it's organized. That, I think those are the 2 essential aspects of making that, successful, and the fact that Tom and I are involved in that, I think we're in good shape with that, and,
Bill, I'm still working on the powers to be to see if we can get a flyover done.
yes,
What,
I guess he
Cessna-
missed what I
Cessna?
said.
Like a Cessna or something?
oh, yeah, Cessna.
Someone on a kite.
F-18, yeah.
Hey, Ixnay and Overflay, that's an egret say. What?
Yeah,
Laura, I know you can fly.
yeah. Okay,
So do I get to drive that sweet Corvette in the parade this year, or still no?
not this year, Laura. You're in the queue.
Bill,
Thanks.
last thing, you know, I know on the annual town report, we took a look at, could we get a picture of the monument? I think that Bostone has given us good pictures of the front and back, and if we could crop those to take out the building, and they have, Laura, you
You already
probably
tried
know this
that,
better
Laura,
than
right?
I do. They have software that allows you to erase. Could we get a good picture of the front and the back
That's a
of
done
the
deal.
monument?
That's a done deal.
No, the problem is that it's a highly reflective surface. So not only is there the background of the factory, but every reflection on the monument would have to be removed. We tried that once and it looked very artificial, and I was proposing that we wait until it's situated and then take a photograph of it then, because depending on how they are producing the town report, they might be able to do it as little as a week before the meeting, because digital printing gets things done a lot faster than traditional methods.
And, I've
Okay.
submitted, I think I
Well,
sent you a copy.
we could also, when
Submitted.
we're gonna unveil the monument in a couple of weeks and have it standing up so that the repair can be done. At that time, we might be able to get a good quality picture without reflection that we could use.
I'll volunteer to do that.
Yeah, she's a good
Well,
photographer.
yeah, you'd have to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
before you promise, it's really not easy.
I've already submitted the report, I thought I sent you a copy of it, with the photo we're gonna use, and, the photo is when, the dedication, the event in December, where Senator Brewer was there. And, so that's the one that has all of the members of the committee in it, and, I got feedback from Tony, who's the executive assistant, that they've received it. If for
That's
some
the one
reason,
you wanna use? Oh,
Yeah.
that's
if for
the
some
one.
reason, when we are out there in March and we get another photo and it hasn't been done, we'll submit that and say if they wanna use that instead, they can. So, but I thought that having, the picture of all of us, was also a good selection as an alternative, yeah, so. Okay,
Well, that's not my area of expertise at all, but if it's possible to get, it would be nice because you'd have all the names there as well. It'd be nice to get a picture of the front and the back on
It
the
would.
annual report.
okay, so going along, the next two items were outreach efforts to get as many veterans to come to Memorial Day, and, we volunteered Steve to work on that, and the outreach to get more Hubbardston Vietnam veterans to send photos for the collage. We talked about that, and, Steve is gonna work on that. The last two items on the agenda, are to design a banner to acknowledge our donors, to be displayed on the common, and, when we first, display it. I forget my linguistics on that. And that would be, we offered to the people when we designed that, the stages of platinum, silver, gold, whatever it was, that we would acknowledge their contributions. And, Ed, you're gonna put together, the list that should be used to design the banner. And at that point, Laura had that, was it less than $100 for that banner that we did? That banner, by the way, held up extremely well. If you weren't here at the beginning when I said, I check it as often as possible, I went by yesterday and it was flapping in the breeze.
That's right.
And I was horrified, so I went back this morning and, brought some more ties down, and, it was pretty windy this morning, but I triple tied it, and, it's held up extremely well.
Yeah, it
I'm
does.
thrilled that it's been there, as long as it has. The grommets are starting to, kinda go towards the edge, so if we could get another month out of that, I think we're in good shape, unless you guys wanna do another, banner of that nature. Another scenario would be to take that off, and we still got the original one that we put up, to have something there, future sight of.
Sure.
So, but we need to, work on the design, and Ed, you're prepared to give us that listing that has the donors, to use for that
Yeah.
design? Okay, doesn't have to be done
There's a
tonight.
couple that have made, multiple donations, like Steve Meager, and we'd have to combine those so they get to the appropriate level. But yeah, I can provide that list easily, and it'd be nice to have that list be in the outline of the monument.
Yeah, in the area around the monument.
Right.
Yeah, we all agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Mhm. So, that, what did it take to order the last one? How much time?
Boop, 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 boop,
Say
boop.
again?
Boop.
Yeah.
Yes, really quick.
Time frame to, order and have it done is very expeditious, so, you know, we have time for that, Ed, not a rush on that, but unless we need more money and we have more donors and we'd be adding to it, I'd say by March, if we have that list together, we'll vote on the format and design, and we'll move ahead with ordering that.
I could easily do that by the end of March, no problem.
Okay. Okay, speaking about volunteers, we all talked about that in generalities the last time we got together, and that is to beautify the area around our monuments. And we know that we're gonna restore them, we're gonna refresh them, they're gonna look good, but wouldn't it be nice to have plants around the monuments? And so that's certainly not my area, I know Green Thumb, but I would like someone to volunteer. Once again, doesn't have to be done now, cause it can't be done now, but that would be something April, May-ish. The two aspects of that is to think about what we would get for plants to put around it to commemorate Memorial Day, and something that might have minimal amount of upkeep. And the other is to repair the grass damage that was done by Graves Concrete when they poured the foundation. You know, the town would probably take care of that, but I think that if we,
You want flowers around the memorial?
pardon?
You want flowers around the memorial?
Not necessarily all of memorials, we want to beautify them,
Oh,
not
all of them.
yeah, especially, maybe, I'm open to suggestions, what do you think?
I
Let's talk
think
about it.
that we should not plant anything, because based on my experience with the hedge around the library, nobody takes care of it, and it
Nobody
either
does.
dies or goes
It's
nuts.
awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Those
would
that go
say,
water and everything.
getting a bunch of flats of geraniums and just putting them up there as an event decoration, and then when they start to look bad, then we can go and scoop them up. Minimal effort, beautiful for the time that it needs to be beautiful.
Everybody
Yeah,
think that's a good
I-
idea?
yeah,
That's fine.
Yeah. What about the grass aspect of it? I mean, do we,
Is the town responsible for the grass?
well, they
We
probably,
wrecked it.
they probably are,
Who cuts the grass over there?
town.
Town, they could throw seed over.
Yeah, what I'll do in regards to that, I'll reach out to the highway department with a couple of pieces, I mean, with ask them
Smile.
if they're willing to, take care of that. I mean, nobody's brought it to our attention. Nobody said, hey, look what you did, the damage, of course, it was, you know, been covered. But I
Use a
think it's,
plow.
yeah, the plow didn't get up that high. But
You never know.
we'll address that at another meeting, we'll talk about that, and, you know, and Ed has great contacts with the highway department, you've plied them before, and, so, yeah, well, I think that, you know, they'd be more than willing to handle that, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely, as soon as we can, throw some grass seed out there in the spring, wouldn't sense to do so that, the grass would come in by Memorial Day. And, there are already plants around a lot of the existing monuments. And I think, most of those are perennials. So I would think that, you know, even if we did a little sprucing up of, making sure we pulled out the dead stuff and they looked good, that would, suffice for, most of the existing. But we're gonna have 2 cannonball monuments that are new, and all of the area where the cannons were, will need grass around them, so we gotta bring in some loam, and we gotta be able to backfill around those monuments, and we'll try and get those in, early April, and that way, we can bring in some material, and we gotta plant grass around them, and whatever plantings we wanna do. But if we wanna have it looking sharp for Memorial Day, it's gonna take a little work in the spring to do that.
I think we're all willing to pitch in
Sure.
with that regard, okay, all right. Ed, is there anything that you wanna bring up that we haven't covered? We've covered a lot of ground here, but, what do you think, is
No,
there?
great meeting, and thanks for letting me join you.
Yeah, well, we certainly appreciate your advisory capacity, which has been, very, very helpful. Ed and I have had many 9:30 PM talks to get this, to bring home the chicken to roost. So, committee, anything else you'd like to bring up, anything we need to cover, anything, you wanna talk about?
Briefly, is there anything you want me to make public?
What do you think? What can we say that the monument is here safe and sound?
No, cause that wouldn't be true.
No.
It's here safe, it's here, okay, it's here, you can say the monument's here.
Yeah. We can, tout the Civil War monument, because that's in a much better position.
Yeah. Are you, comfortable with the photos that I sent with the eagle? You wanna use any of those?
I'll have to look at them again, they didn't download, but let me see,
Yeah.
so,
They were all, that was as we were uncrating it. They did a wonderful job with that, and we didn't even touch on that, but we should. The three of us that were there, we looked at the crate. We determined that we thought the crate was intact. There was a hole in the top. I ripped the hole a little bit. It was just a covering. They had shrink wrapped that, which is what we asked for, but we didn't get the monument shrink wrapped. We got the eagle shrink wrapped. So, we then took it all apart. It, probably weighs, we thought it might be 400 pounds, but more like 200.
Yeah.
Cause, Chad and Bushy from Grow Green were able to lift it up very gently. We positioned it, we, covered it again, and the guys were gonna build the crate to make sure that it, was safe and secure. So, I think we're in really good shape. There'll be no beautiful pictures of it, but it would be the unveiling of it that would show how it's arrived, and, you know, I thought it looked really good.
I thought, I should've brought it up maybe a long time ago, but I thought that, that sometime in early May, if we had a series of, you know, start there, put the eagle up, and we'll have do a video
Teases, yeah.
teases, and then we're gonna move on to the other ones, and, you know, please, you know, to see it all together, you have to come to.
That's a great idea, yeah. I couldn't, put the eagle up erect because the bottom of the eagle is the top cannonball.
Right.
And then it has, a tail that goes beyond that, but they were diligent, and I believe I told Ed this, we asked for pin, and there was a pin in there.
Right.
That's I'm glad we talked about this. So, they followed the directions specifically. We also feel when we uncrate the monument, that there will be pins there that were gonna be used, because the base has holes in it. We're also sort of hoping, I don't believe that's gonna become a reality, sort of hoping that we might find some of the chips, that they may have fallen into the cradle area, but probably not, because they were the high point, so when they got chipped, when the monument came forward, I think they fell wherever on the floor they were. But, if we do, then could it be a jigsaw puzzle and we could use those actual pieces, so, but let's plan on a meeting in mid-March. When are you leaving for
Yeah.
Florida?
The 1st of April.
Okay,
April
yeah, you've
2nd.
got a busy schedule ahead of you.
We're gonna go visit, I'm gonna go, us, I'm gonna go visit all relatives all
Wonderful,
around
yeah,
Florida,
yeah.
and,
Mhm. Yeah.
so.
Have
that'll be-
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be nice to see everyone.
Yeah, I mean, when you told me your
Yeah.
schedule, I said,
Oh,
oh my
yeah.
goodness gracious, you
That's right.
still have a lot of gas left in the
Right.
tank.
No, I'm flying into Fort Lauderdale, and my girlfriend's picking me up there, we're gonna go see Ed and Mary, then we're going to her house, then we're going to Crystal River, then I'm eventually making it up to my house, and I need a lot to do there,
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
yeah,
good.
so hopefully I'll be back the end of May to,
You better be. Yeah.
to participate in this.
And, so we'll
So-
plan a meeting for the
Yeah.
middle of March, and I'll
Okay.
give you plenty of, I'm back on the 12th,
can you please resend pictures of the eagle, because I was just looking, I couldn't find it.
okay? Yeah.
Flurry of emails, I don't know how I could have missed it.
Did you get that very comprehensive email that I sent, talked about observations, conclusions? I certainly had you
The
on
one
it.
with all the injury pictures, yes, I found that one.
Okay, all right, so resend. Okay, So it's now 8:15. We are concluding the meeting of the Hubbardston Vietnam Veterans Memorial Committee. Thank you all for coming.
You know that guy